playlist, and now we know what is the electromagnetic spectrum. So electromagnetic spectrum is the range of the frequencies of the electromagnetic radiation and their respective wavelength and photon energies. To understanding better electromagnetic spectrum, you can see these radio waves, microwaves, infrared, ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma ray. So these are the visible spectrum, wavelength and energy. So what is the signal and channel bandwidth? Signal bandwidth of the channel in terms of the analog signal. Bandwidth of the channel is the range of the frequencies that the channel can carry. In terms of the digital signal, bandwidth of the channel is the maximum bit rate supported by the channel, the maximum amount of the data that the channel can carry per second. Hi everybody, and now we are understanding the signal and channel bandwidth. So what are the difference they have? First is the difference between upper and lower frequency limits. Difference between upper and lower frequency limit. It is defined as the range of the frequency that the signal occupy. It is defined as the range of frequency that cable will carry. The portion the electromagnetic spectrum occupied by the signal, maximum amount of the information that the channel can carry. Frequencies range over such as signal is transmitted. Range is frequency required to transmit the desired information. Note that the greater the bandwidth of the channel, the higher the data rate. Ideally, the channel should not provide more bandwidth with the signal, must occupy less bandwidth. The different type of the signal have different bandwidth, voice signal, music signal, etc. There are the various type of the signal frequencies and bandwidth, such like a voice 300 to 3400 frequencies range, bandwidth 3100 Hz bandwidth, music signal 20 to 15000 frequency range, and bandwidth 14000 to 980. TP picture signal 0 to 5 megahertz and 5 megahertz. Digital data 300 to 3400 using telephone line 3100 for the bandwidth hertz. So bandwidth of the signal is likely the calculated in separate way. In analog technology, the bandwidth is the difference between the lowest and highest frequencies that can pass through the channel. Analog signal bandwidth is measured in terms of the frequency hertz, but digital signal bandwidth is measured in the term of the bit rate per second also. So per second. Also note that bit length is a signal of the different from the bandwidth of the channel. The range of the human voice is 20 Hz to 20 kHz. This is the total voice bandwidth, but the voice frequency from the 300 Hz to 3400 Hz are only transmitted in the communication. Note that the transmission of the all frequencies 20 to 20 kHz is the costly for efficient transmission and reception of the speech. Bandwidth of channel. A channel is the medium through which the input signal passes. In terms of the analog signal, bandwidth of the channel is the range of the frequencies that the channel can carry. The bandwidth of the medium should always be greater than the bandwidth of the signal to be transmitted, else lost the information taken. Types of the channel: frequency range approximately twisted pair 1 MHz to 100 MHz. Microwave satellite 1 GHz to 30 GHz. What is the simplex communication? Simplex communication is the communication channel that send information in one direction only. The International Telecommunication Union definition is the communication channel that operate in one direction at a time, but may be reversible at the term half duplex in other context. With this example, you can see clearly that simplex is the one-way communication. What are the example of the half duplex communication? The most familiar example of the half duplex communication is walkie-talkie type of the push and talk radio connection, where the communicating parties take turn transmitting and signal their transmission are complete before the other can transmit. What is the half communication mode? So half communication mode is the half duplex mode. Sender can send the data and also can receive the data one at the time. It is the two-way directional communication, but one at a time. Full duplex mode is a full duplex mode. Sender can send the data and also can receive the data simultaneously. What is the half and full duplex? With the example, half duplex transmission could be transmitted at one-way state between sender and receiver. Full duplex, on the other hand, enable two-way traffic at the same time. The communication channel can be used to communicate one way at a time and both direction at once. What is the duplex communication? So duplex communication system is the point-to-point system composed of two or more connected parties or a device that can communicate with one another in the both direction at the same time. Here you can see this example of this simplex, half duplex and full duplex. Transmitter receiver receive the information same time, one only a time. Half duplex, transmitter receiver and the full duplex. So what is the difference between the baseband and broadband? Baseband transmission is the data transmission technique in which the one signal need the whole bandwidth with the channel to transfer the data. In contrast, broadband transmission is the transmission technology in which many signal with the different frequencies. So as the baseband, only one signal, and the broadband many signal at the same time. So here we have the example. What are the baseband versus broadband? Baseband is referred to the communication channel in which information is carried in digital form, and broadband the signal are modulated as a radio frequency. Analog waves use different frequency ranges. Communication is bidirectional, which means same channel is used to transmit the received signal. Communication is unidirectional. Unidirectional means both directions, which need to order to send and receive signal. Every device on the baseband system share the same channel. Multiple independent channels can carry analog and digital information through the FDM. Baseband LAN local area network are inexpensive and easier to install and maintain. Broadband systems are generally more expensive because of the additional hardware involved. Baseband local area network have a limited distance reach, which is no more than a couple miles. Broadband LAN spend much longer distance than the baseband, up to 10 km. So what is the serial communication? Serial communication is the telecommunication and data transmission. Serial communication is the process of the sending data one bit at a time sequentially over the communication channel or the computer bus. This is the contrast to parallel communication, where several bits are sent to hold on a link with the several parallel channel. You can see here the out 0 1 pin 1 2 2 serial communication image. This is transmitter and this is receiver, and here MSB data and LSB. What is the information entropy? So information entropy is the entropy of the random variable of the average level of the information supply and uncertainty in here to the variable possible outcomes. What is the mean by the information entropy? So generally information entropy is the average amount of the information conveyed by the considering all possible input. So average amount of the information needed for the any data and event to considering possible outcome. What is the difference between baud rate and data rate? So both bit rate and baud rate are generally used in data communication to measure the speed of the data. Bit rate is the transmission of a number of the bits per second. On the other hand, baud rate is defined the number of the signal per second. So bit rate is the number of the bits per second, and baud rate is number of the signal per second. What is the channel capacity? The channel capacity is defined as the maximum rate which information can be transmitted through a channel. So transmitter, channel and receiver. In the communication, these three are the. So you can understand that the maximum rate which information can be transmitted through a channel is known as a channel capacity. So what is the Nyquist theorem? The Nyquist theorem is the also known as a sampling theorem. So in this theorem, Nyquist theorem, we do sampling. It is the principle of the accurately reproduce a pure sine wave measurement sample rate which must be at least twice its frequency. What is the Nyquist then? So the highest frequency which can be represented accurately on the highest sampling rate means this is the theorem which accurately reproduce the sine wave, means 90-degree sine wave on the sample rate which must be at least twice its frequency. So this signal You can see here, this is the sign interpolation interpolated. So Nyquist theorem is this. So what is the signal to noise ratio? The signal to noise ratio is the measure used to science and engineering that compare the level of the desired signal to the level of the background noise. Signal to noise ratio is the ratio of the signal power to noise power, often expressed in decibel. A ratio higher than the one indicate more signal than noise. In this example, you clearly can see like the definition of the signal to noise ratio, and that is the chromatogram where with the chromatographic peak and the signal to noise ratio. The signal to noise ratio is often used as a yardstick measure to sensitivity of a instrument. So what is the Shannon theorem? The Shannon capacity theorem defines the maximum amount of the information or the data capacity which can be sent over the channel or medium. Wireless twister pair. What is this say is the higher the signal to noise ratio, the more the channel bandwidth and the higher the possible data rate. In this graph and image, you can see clearly the signal to noise ratio in decibel and the simulation analytical. What is the Shannon formula? Shannon formula is C is equal to L in the bracket 1 plus P divided N is the emblematic expression of the information capacity of the communication channel. So what are the error Hamming code? Hamming code is an error correction system that can detect and correct error when data is stored on the. It's require adding the commonly used error correction code. It's named after the inventor Richard Hamming. This is the error code. So what is the Hamming code? With example, the amount of the Parsi data as a Hamming code is given by the formula where the Parsi bit can be